Hello everyone, finally, welcome to another episode talk series that I'm gonna be doing, and of course, it's gonna be for Daredevil Born Again. It's back! It's finally back. It's been years! Oh my god, it's been like 7 years or something like that, or 8, since we've had the original Daredevil's cancellation. I cried when that happened because that show is peak perfection. I don't care what people say about season 2. Alright, it does not drag the show down. The show's fantastic. I love it. But when it got cancelled, it was like, well, alright, first of all, that means everything on Netflix is gonna get axed because this is the best thing they have. But also, why are you canceling it? But then there was hope. With Spider-Man No Way Home and with Hawkeye. We got Daredevil and Kingpin back. And then with Echo and She-Hulk, technically. The only good episode of She-Hulk, I will stand by that. I like the Daredevil part of She-Hulk. I just don't like the rest of the show. But we have Daredevil back, and now he has returned finally. So in universe, it's been about 7 or so years. We are now in the year 2025, and the gang, they leave Nelson and Murdoch's office in order to head over to Josie. And then we have new characters and old characters kind of interacting. We got this woman talking to Foggy, with Foggy hitting her up, kind of, but it's going a bit awkwardly. We also have like a celebration for a retirement of a guy named Jerry. Who is he? I don't know. Nobody knows, but he's retiring. So, I guess that's important. I don't even know who you are. I can't celebrate this. I don't know. If this was Mahoney, I could have celebrated or something like that. But my boy. But I don't know. You were not in Netflix. But also, that is because of the fact that this show is basically a Frankenstein of sorts. Because it's a combination of what originally was made and what is new. The thing is that what originally was made was supposed to be a reboot of Daredevil. However, Marvel finally saw the light and learned how stupid that is, because you already have a bunch of established stuff that you can just pull from. You have a fan base that you can immediately interject into this. It is perfect. Why are you abandoning everything you've done before? So they decided to redo it a bit, and most of this episode is actually redone with some elements from the original show still apparent. One big one that I'll talk about later. But basically we have, you know, just some fun at Josie's until Foggy gets a call. So Foggy steps outside, and apparently on the other side of the phone we have a guy named Benny, and Benny's like, he's coming for me, they're coming for me, and Foggy's like, calm down. So Matt hears this, and this scene is fantastic. Alright, the way that the aspect ratio changes to focus on Matt and then like zooms in on Foggy, I love the way that was done. But Matt is like, hey Karen, let's go outside, there's trouble afoot. So they go outside, and turns out there was a problem at the Red Hook pier. I think that was a pier. I don't actually remember, but I think it was a pier. But there was trouble there, and Foggy stashed the guy. But he didn't tell Matt because of the fact that he didn't want to give Matt another excuse, I guess, to be Daredevil. Continuing on the whole, you know, the one annoying part for me about Foggy. I will say that. I love Foggy. We need to stop talking bad about Daredevil. Come on, dude. So Matt heads off in order to help, because we also can see the fact that there's this really cool scene of the guy who is hunting Benny, I guess. There's a fly, and he just like kills it with like a paperclip, which immediately goes like, alright, that's Bullseye. Even though the logo is on the gloves, it doesn't matter. That's Bullseye. Simple as that. But Bullseye goes for Benny. So Matt goes, suits up, and then has a very awkward sequence because of the fact that they use CGI. Yes, the CGI in this, first of all, welcome officially fully to the MCU, because that is an MCU trait. But I think that the CGI in this episode is a little bit worse, specifically because of the fact that this was part of the reshoots, which were done like, I think last year maybe. So that's why the CGI looks a bit wonky. I don't mind it. I grew up watching the Arrowverse, okay? Unless they go that bad, I'll have a problem. But they have not gone that bad yet. But we get to see Daredevil. However, turns out Benny gave the location of Foggy because Bullseye apparently wants the location of Foggy. So Matt overhears this, and then he heads back. However, a gunshot is shot, and Bullseye has shot Foggy and 2 other people that don't matter. But Foggy! He shot Foggy! No. Look, I know nobody liked Foggy, okay? I will be honest here. If you were around back in 2015, 2016-ish, nobody liked Foggy. Everybody hated Foggy. I liked Foggy. I was like in the minority of like Foggy fans. But Foggy gets shot, Matt heads back, and before Bullseye can shoot Karen, Matt intervenes and they have a bit of a fight, which, look, a hallway fight, kind of, in like the first episode. You're just starting off that big. That's a new one. Also, this one is infused with CGI, which means this is automatically the worst. But overall, I still enjoyed it. But they fight and they fight. But also, what I find funny is the fact that Bullseye is just taking people out while fighting Matt. He just takes people out. But eventually, Bullseye is able to get away, takes more people out. Matt goes after him, and throughout the whole thing, we hear Foggy's heartbeat. So they go all the way up to the top. And they, Matt gets the upper hand on the fighting there. However, then Foggy's heart stops. Matt breaks down, and Bullseye gives him like a shoulder tap. Like, what? The sadistic bastard! He killed Foggy, and then he just shoulder taps Matt. What is wrong with you? But Matt, at that point, he's done. He frags him off the roof. He just throws him off the roof, man. He hits the floor with Karen immediately getting scared. She looks back, and I guess she's relieved because, like, oh, thank God it's not Matt, because I can't lose two of them. But he throws him off the building. Foggy dies, and then we have Sherry there, who learns that Matt is Daredevil, and that's basically where that part ends. So let's just talk about this before we continue on, obviously. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about Foggy's death. Like, I'm not upset like most people, but that's because of the fact, like, 2 years ago or something like that, maybe 3, there was that leak that came out where it was like, yeah, Foggy's gonna die. This was before the overhaul. So even in the original Daredevil Born Again that was not connected to the Netflix stuff, Foggy was still gonna die, which, by the way, that would have been horrible. We wouldn't have known that Foggy. The emotional moments would not have worked. But we knew that Foggy was gonna die back then. Also, before I actually watched this episode, I made the mistake of going onto Twitter. And on Twitter, people were talking about a comic book issue where Foggy apparently faked his death. So I'm not gonna be sad about the death of Foggy until we get to the end of this season. And also, Foggy will return in season 2, either in flashbacks or maybe present day. Who's to say? But the actor is coming back as Foggy in season 2. So maybe, they faked his death. So I'm not really gonna be super sad because of that. But if this is real, I'll cry. Also, I've seen people be like, why Foggy? I don't know why he goes after Foggy. I got nothing, okay? I mean, maybe it's because of the fact that you remember at the bulletin when Bullseye was there to kill the one guy in season 3, because by the way, the reason that this is late is because I was at my mom's place for the past 2 weeks because of the fact I was getting a new floor. I watched season 3 and The Punisher, the entire series, over at my mom's place, and I was like, maybe Bullseye killed Foggy because Foggy punched him. But I don't know. My guess is just he wants revenge against everyone involved. But Vanessa is too difficult to track down because of, well, we'll get to that later on. Don't you worry about that one. But because of what Vanessa is, she's a little bit more difficult to track down. So it's best to just go for Karen and Foggy and Matt. They were part of it as well. Why not just kill them? Maybe it will be explained later on. Maybe he's a hired gun. But if Bullseye is working for Fisk, that is gonna have some major problems because of, season 3. But overall, I am indifferent about Foggy's death. I'll wait until the end of the season before I really talk about that. But before we continue on, there's a little bit of a thing that I missed while I was at my mom's place that I noticed here, and that is the fact that they talk about White Tiger in episode 1 of Daredevil Born Again. I missed that, and also on the TV, you can see him fight. You can see White Tiger fight, so I like that. I like that. That is immediately here. But then from that sad death, we get into the intro. Now, normally, I don't really talk about intros because intros to me are like whatever. But this one is important. Because starting off, it is a new intro that infuses the old intro into it. But I love the way how from Foggy's death, we get to the intro where everything just breaks down until we get to the Daredevil portion. And the full original intro pops in. We start hearing it as we continue on throughout the intro, mainly when like the Nelson and Murdoch sign falls down, but then like we fully get back into it when we have Daredevil Born Again kind of thing. I love the way that the intro works. But then we jump to 1 year later. Yes, I also wish we could have stayed with Matt in order to see how he handles it, but we jump to 1 year later because that's when the show takes place. And Matt is still sad about Foggy. And also, Vanessa has become the queen pin of the underground world while Wilson Fisk was off, you know, being in the MCU. Being in Hawkeye, being in Echo. Mainly being in Echo is kind of what ruined everything. So we have a meeting between like two gangs, one of them being the Tracksuit Mafia from Hawkeye, this time not as goofy as they were in the Disney Plus show. And then Vanessa and me is like, alright, look, Red Hook is off the table, which means that there is some importance there. We'll get there maybe one day. I don't know. At the time of recording this, I've only seen 3 episodes. I'm recording this the day before episode 4 comes out, which here in the Netherlands is on a Wednesday, not a Tuesday, which makes me mad. But as Vanessa is doing her Vanessa things, which by the way, from the end of season 3 to this, I love the way that she's more involved now. But anyway, Fisk appears. Everyone leaves, and Vanessa and Fisk start to talk, and it seems like there's some problems between their relationship, sadly enough, because of the fact that Wilson Fisk was off being in Echo, basically. That is what, you know, kind of broke them apart. It wasn't really the Hawkeye stuff, because, like, Vanessa's like, you got shot in the face, I sat beside your bed, and then you just up and left. And it's like, yep, that's Echo. So during the Echo stuff, Vanessa was being the queen pin, I guess, holding down the fort while Fisk was just going to his not real daughter and doing all that stuff. And this is also why Bullseye couldn't find her, because, you know, she is now the mastermind of the underground. It's a little bit more difficult to get to her. Best to take out Foggy and Karen first, then go for her. Simple as that. But after that, we also have this new thing that this show is gonna do. I'm not really gonna talk about it unless it actually really has any importance. It's just basically the people's views on what is happening in the episode currently. And it's called the BB Report. And the only reason that I'm interested is because of the fact that this woman, this girl technically, is the family of Ben Urich. R.I.P. the boy from back in season 1. I miss him. I've always missed him. I liked him a lot. Also, Matt is now working with Kristen. And that law firm is called, let me see here, Murdoch and McDuffie. Alright, I like Nelson and Murdoch more. Had more of a ring to it. Really? This is what you were gonna give us? Murdoch and McDuffie? Really? That sounds stupid. But Matt is getting ready to give his speech at the sentencing of the legend of Bullseye himself. So let's go to the sentencing of Bullseye, who apparently in that whole rampage between him and Daredevil also killed 11 people, including Foggy, but killed 11 people. This man, it's just, while fighting Daredevil, he just like killed like 8 extra people, if I remember correctly, because he killed Foggy, shot 2 people, and then Daredevil fought him. So he killed about like 8 people while fighting Daredevil. This man's insane. And Matt gives a very powerful speech. Here's Karen come in, and Bullseye has no remorse and gets sentenced for life. And I love Charlie Cox's acting there, which is like, yes! Basically, he just wants to get up and be like, yes! F you! But he can't do that. So Matt and Karen talk, but it turns out Matt did his classic Matt thing. As in, when Foggy died, he shut everyone out. Karen tried to get in contact with Matt, but Matt kind of pushed her away. And that has broken the friendship. So now, she's moved on. She's moved to San Francisco, and Matt has officially quit being Daredevil. Guess Foggy kind of got what he wanted at the end of the day. But don't worry, he will be born again. And also, Karen isn't necessarily too interested in rekindling the friendship, because Matt's like, I don't think a tragedy should destroy everything. And then she's like, well, yeah, I mean, technically it's his fault because of the fact that he ghosted her. Alright, that's technically on him. But then Karen gives Matt a broken horn that she found at Josie's, and then leaves. So afterwards, Matt is angry cooking, and Fisk announces his candidacy to become the mayor of New York City. And he has a whole team behind him, and he takes notice of one guy there who apparently was cheap and brought in 2,000 signatures, a man named Danielle. Also, for anyone wondering, how is it possible that Fisk can run for mayor after seasons 1, 2, and 3? You've seen the scheming that he did back in like seasons 2 and 3, mainly in season 3. Like, he played the FBI in order to get what he wanted. Like, I'm 100% convinced Fisk used a playbook that he had in order to get himself out of prison because of the snap. He used that chaos in order to reduce his sentence, then got out a free man, built himself back up, and now is running for mayor. Entirely believable. Also, we get a nice little reference in the BB report about the fact that Fisk killed someone with a car door, which was in Daredevil Season 1, which I did not expect that, but I love that they referenced that. Meanwhile, Kristen sends Matt to Heather, who needs legal advice. So Matt goes over there. However, Heather was told that this was gonna be a therapy session. And instead of, them just being like, well, alright, you know what? Hey, mistakes can happen. Let's leave. Instead, apparently, they form like a connection and a romance. Sure, why not? And also, Cherry is now Matt's investigator. And he has been looking into Fisk. However, it seems like Fisk is very clean. He used clean money, no criminal ties at all. They basically wiped all the criminal ties away. Which is something that Fisk would 100% do. And Matt's like, you know what? Hey, if Fisk wins, New York will get the mayor it deserves. So Matt then decides to go and talk to Fisk himself. So they go over to a place, to like a restaurant place. I don't know what that place is called, but still. They go there, they sit down, and they have a little bit of a talk. And man, these two actors are so good. They are perfect in their roles. But I love the way that they talk to each other. They don't really talk hostile towards each other, but also they're not really friends either. Matt is like, you've gained more muscle and lost a lot more fat. But I like the way that they talk to each other. Also, to anyone who's wondering, because I've seen this as well, and I would like to explain that since I've recently seen season 3. Why doesn't Matt just go after Fisk? Well, it's a simple thing. Matt basically was like, I'm gonna come after you if you come after Foggy and Karen. And he hasn't done that. So, Matt is still like, look, if you start doing crime, I'll come after you. Simple as that. But I'm not gonna be Daredevil anymore because the line was crossed. I almost killed Bullseye. I lost it, okay? If I kept being Daredevil, I would have killed someone. In a way, kind of like the arc of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in Spider-Man No Way Home, which I thought was fun. But also, Fisk promises that he is going to stop the vigilante. Spoiler warning for the next episode. Fisk will create a division called the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, or whatever it was called, in order to stop vigilanteism. So then later on, it is official. Wow, Matt is on a date with Heather. Fisk becomes mayor of New York with 53% approval rate. Also, apparently Vanessa cheated on Fisk, which is like, oh, why? Also with a guy named Adam, but why? And Fisk is like, look, I'm not gonna go after him because I'm not him anymore, okay? I'm not the old me, okay? I'm the new me. Which kind of goes into the whole, like, is Fisk really a good person now? Or is he still a garbage person? Like he's always been. Which, Matt, I also like that about that diner scene. Matt and Fisk are both don't believe the other when they're talking. Because Matt's like, look, I'm done being Daredevil. And Fisk is like, no, you're not. And Fisk is like, look, I'm a good guy now. And Matt is like, no, you're not. I love the fact that they just, like, call each other out kind of on that. But Fisk promises a better tomorrow. And then to end the episode, we have, like, a red light for Matt and a white light for Fisk. And that's basically the end of the episode. And overall, I thought this episode was a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed it. Yes, it is a bit messy here and there because of the reshoots and all that stuff. But overall, I still really enjoyed it. It felt like we were back outside of the CGI and the visuals. Let's be honest there. The visuals are not as stunning as they once were because we are now in the MCU, which means we have the MCU visuals, which is very gray. You know how Dragon Ball Z Kai, the final chapters, is very green? This is very gray. And that's how the MCU has been for a long time, since basically Phase 3 started. That is like the earliest point, which I remember. But for me, it doesn't really ruin everything because I'm mainly here, not entirely for the visuals, I'm mainly here for like the writing and the characters, and I still love the characters. The writing here, it's slightly lesser, but also we have an entire season to get through, okay? Back in the day, we got the whole season in one day. Now we have to wait weekly, even though the release of this thing is kind of weird because we're getting episodes 1 and 2 immediately, then 3, then 4, and then for some reason, we're gonna get 5 and 6 next week. Like, why? Why are we getting both of those on one day? That's gonna be making it very difficult to make videos on that one because, yeah, I don't really know if I'm gonna be able to make it in time. However, normally we would end it here, but we are gonna be doing a two-parter. So let's get into that secondary episode then, shall we? Before we start episode 2, however, the episode kind of starts off with a little bit of in memory of Kamar de los Reyes, who is the actor who portrays White Tiger, who sadly enough back in the year 2023 passed away. Sadly enough. He does a really good job in this and the next episode because these next 2 episodes are completely dedicated to him. So let's just get into it. First of all, Happy New Year, everyone, because apparently it's now 2027 at the beginning of this episode, which means that the back half of the last episode took place in December, like around December 30th, maybe 31st of 2026. Now we're in 2027. It's also ironic that Ross has won the presidency, and then this show happens, and then he becomes president, because give him a couple of weeks and he'll officially be president. But Fisk gives a speech about his hatred for vigilantes, and he names the Punisher and Spider-Man. Well, not necessarily Spider-Man, because he's like the spider guy, but whatever. Also, to anyone who's like, can we get Spider-Man and Daredevil Born Again? Maybe season 2. No, apparently there's a contract in which Marvel isn't allowed to use Spider-Man in TV. So, if you want the crossover between Daredevil and Spider-Man, you gotta wait for a Spider-Man movie, because it's never gonna happen in Daredevil Born Again. At least not for now. Maybe they can make a deal later on. Meanwhile, while this speech is happening, we have a man named Hector who goes down the subway. A man is screaming for help, gets beaten up by 2 others. Hector tells them to back off. They don't. A fight erupts, and Hector beats both of them until one guy trips over another guy and falls right in front of a train as he gets killed by the train. And then the other guy is like, I'm a cop, you're under arrest. And turns out these were dirty cops. Something that this show, well, Daredevil in general, has never really shied away from. The other seasons, like, look, I heard people online talk about like, oh, they're finally doing dirty cops. It's like, they've been doing dirty cops since like the beginning. Don't you remember that? Season 1, season 3 of Daredevil? That had a lot of dirty cops. They've been doing that storyline throughout. But he gets arrested. After that, Fisk is talking, and you can see that his hand has a couple of wounds on it. Also, it doesn't really seem like he really wants to do his mayoral duties, because he's like, can we delay this stuff, you know? Can we delay these visits? And then the woman is like, no, we can't actually. It's like, fine. But we can see some wounds that might come into play later on. Not in this episode, and not in the next one. However, there is a little bit of trouble here, and that is the fact that Vanessa's lack of involvement is very troubling for the public, and they don't like that. So then Matt is at a cop station, and he's finishing up with a client. However, he hears Hector getting beaten up, so he decides to go over there and become Hector's lawyer. And they have a bit of a talk. Matt immediately believes him. We get another one of those classic heartbeat, telling the truth kind of thing. You love to hear it. I love that throughout the whole of Daredevil when we had it, you know. I mean, in that first part with Karen back in season 1, we had where he listened to Karen's heart. I love that. I love when we get Daredevil's like powers. It's so cool. But he decides to become his lawyer. Meanwhile, Fisk is on the road. However, they are stopped by a hole in the ground. So Fisk gets out. He's like, fix it. And it's like, well, actually, we can't really do it because of all the red tape. We kind of need to wait for approval. He's like, I am the mayor now. Fix the hole. And then he's like, look up, people. I have fixed hole. And then that Daniel guy is like, wow, Fisk, you are really good at filling holes. And then they continue on, I guess. I kind of want that scene to come back and bite Fisk, because of the fact it's like, look, the reason the red tape is there is safety. And Fisk bypassed all that. So I would like to see that come back and maybe actually cause a problem. But who knows? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's gonna happen. Maybe not. Also, Kristen and Cherry are not happy about Matt taking Hector as a client, because, you know, Matt's basically going up against the whole of the NYPD. That's basically the way that it looks, because of the lack of evidence for corrupt cops. And then Matt's like, look, we're gonna do this. Just back me. And they agree. And also, he's like, Cherry, I need you to find a witness. And also, I need you to find out stuff about Hector, because even though I believe that he's innocent, he's still hiding something, and I want to know what he's hiding. So we get to the courthouse for like the prequel to what will happen in the next episode, which is the court case. And we meet the rival lawyer Galloway himself from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen makes another appearance. Yes, indeed. It is the actor from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen who basically wanted Optimus Prime off the planet. You remember that scene? I don't know if you do, but that guy, the actor, is here as a rival lawyer. But I love that because of the fact that it's like, when I heard his voice, I was like, it's you! You're the guy who talked to Optimus Prime in a very bad way. You basically bullied Optimus Prime. I don't like you. Because what if we leave and you're wrong? And the prequel is basically about the fact that there's gonna be no bail. Like, you can't post bail. Simple as that. Because he did kill a cop, okay? So he's gonna stay in prison where he's probably gonna get beaten up by both cops and inmates. Meanwhile, BB goes to visit Fisk, and he mentions Ben, which was a very tense scene, especially because now it's connected. By the way, this episode is the first episode of this series where we are now in the original series, where it was kind of planned as a reboot, but I don't know if it fully was, with some additional scenes that I will talk about later on. But we got the Ben mention, and I was like, how dare you talk to him after you killed him in his house? So later that day, we have Heather, who is at a book signing because apparently she released a book. book. And then we have a weird guy who appears, and he's like, can I get some therapy from you? And she's like, yeah, sure. And everyone online is like, that's Muse. It's like, all right, cool. Apparently that's Muse. And then also one of Fisk's guys is there as well. We'll get back to that later. So the next day, Fisk goes over to a burial for a cop. And then Fisk tries to ask the commissioner for help. Commissioner's like, once a thug, always a thug. No. So that didn't really go all that well. Meanwhile, Cherry and Kristen head over to Hector's wife, and this scene is a little bit weird because Cherry is like, we're here to pick up his suit. And then she's like, oh yeah, hey, I left it on the bed. Cherry goes in there for a good like 10 minutes and is like, that's not suspicious to anyone else? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me who thinks this is kind of suspicious, but it's a bit suspicious, isn't it? But there, Cherry learns that Hector is actually White Tiger. So he calls Matt, who is on a date with Heather, and gets interrupted, and then learns the truth, and later on confronts Hector about it. And we also learn then that yes, Hector is getting beaten up in prison. Meanwhile, Fisk threatens the commissioner in the most Fisk way possible, because he's just eating a sandwich and he's talking to the commissioner. The commissioner walks in, resigns, but then he talks about sandwiches and delicious sandwiches, and then he has a sandwich in front of him. He lifts up the piece of paper, the wrapping paper, and there is a picture of the commissioner's son that the commissioner was trying to hide. And it's like, that is such a Fisk thing to do, because any other politician might have been like, I will hurt your family. Fisk is like, I'm gonna hurt your son that you don't even know that I know about. Okay? I'm gonna take it a step further. So the commissioner doesn't resign, so that's gonna be fun, but it's such a Fisk way. And then afterwards, he's like, this sandwich is trash. Disgusting sandwich. So at the courthouse, Matt tries to keep the White Tiger a secret, and the fact that, you know, maybe the jury's opinion will be swayed because of the White Tiger. They should not mention the White Tiger. And Galloway, which one I'm gonna call him, he is against it, but the judge eventually is like, alright, fine. We will not mention the White Tiger. This is gonna come back to bite Matt in a way that you wouldn't expect, because I didn't expect. So afterwards, Matt is outside of a church and he's listening in, but he can't enter. Potentially because of what happened to Foggy, but what I like to see, the way that I see it, is the fact of what happened to Lantham, because of the fact that he died. That's how I like to see it, but to each their own, you know. But he listens in, but he can't really get himself to enter the church. So Matt decides to follow the corrupt cop, and Heather cancels on Matt because of the fact that she's gonna see a new client, and that client turns out to be Fisk, and he's there with his wife in order to, you know, fix their marriage problems. And the marriage problems are basically like, look, man, you left me, alright? After you got shot, you just left. You abandoned me, basically. And Fisk is like, look, I was assaulted by a vigilante, I got shot, I took some time, it was for the best. And I love the fact that they reference Hawkeye and Echo in this series without fully going into it, because the vigilante that assaulted him was Kate Bishop, if you remember in the final episode of Hawkeye. And then Maya shot him in the head, and Echo happened. So I like how they reference that, but keep it on the down low. So after a while, Matt finally learns the witness's location. He calls Cherry to about the location, and he goes there. He gets upstairs, he knocks on the door, the dude lets him in. He's like, oh, look, my name is Nikki. He's like, all right, look, Nikki, you need to get out. You need to leave right now, all right, because there are cops coming here to kill you. Corrupt cops are coming here to kill you. And initially, he doesn't believe until the knock happens, and then he leaves, and then Matt stays behind. He opens the door, and then they're like, where is he? And he's like, well, sorry, officer, I didn't see where he went. So then the corrupt cops start beating up Matt, and Matt's like, you don't want to do this. Don't do this. And then the corrupt cop pulls out a gun, and then Matt's just like, you don't want to do this. And the way that it seems on the outside is the fact that he's talking to them. He's not. He's talking to himself. He's talking to Daredevil. He's like, Daredevil, you don't want to come out, okay? We made a deal. You're not coming out, okay? But once the gun gets ready to shoot, Daredevil comes out, and Matt starts beating the both of them up, breaks one's hand in a violent way. Very entertaining. That blood, I think, was CGI, but whatever. You know, you can't really break someone's arm that way IRL, so good to go. But he beats them up, and then he screams, and that's the end of the episode. And overall, another solid episode of the series. I very much enjoyed it. I like the first episode. It really helps this episode. The fact that, like, the first episode was never even supposed to be the first episode is just so weird. And also, since this is the original episode, mostly, why are there so many references to, like, the Netflix stuff? It feels like they really referenced the Netflix stuff even early on, even though they wanted it to be a reboot. Let's talk about the new episodes, by the way. The new scenes. Let's talk about them. We have 3 new scenes, apparently. The scenes are as followed. First of all, the therapy session has been reshot because the original version had the other Vanessa, because they were gonna recast Vanessa. They shot a scene with her, and now they had to fix that with the correct Vanessa. The next one is Heather Glenn having a book signing at Inkwell Gathering Space, where she is visited by Bastion and Buck Cashman, Fisk's people. And then finally, a portion of the fight scene Matt Murdock has with the corrupt cops, it was partially reshot. That's all the changes that happened. Outside of that, everything was still in here from the original show, which makes me go, wait, why did they mention Ben Urich, even though this was supposed to be a reboot? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. But like I said, overall, I enjoyed this episode, and I'm gonna end it here because I got editing to do. So let me know what you guys thought about the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. I found it a very solid start. I am very excited for the rest of the show. I think it does the Netflix stuff justice. It's not perfect, you know, like the visuals aren't really there. It has the MCU styled visuals, which I've gotten used to. I know a lot of people hate, but I've gotten used to that stuff. Also, the guys who were assaulting Matt, they had like a Punisher tattoo, which apparently has some real world implications as well, because a couple of years ago, I never knew about this until the last episode came out. Apparently, there were some corrupt cops, IRL, who used the Punisher logo in a sense in order to actually, you know, abuse their power. And that also prompted Marvel to change the Punisher logo. I remember them changing the Punisher logo. I just didn't remember. I just never knew why they changed the Punisher logo. But they had like a blue version of the Punisher logo, which, by the way, that looks ugly. That looks so ugly. Why? Don't do that. Alright, just don't. Never do that again in your life. Never. But I'm interested to see how they're gonna tackle this because of the fact that, you know, Frank Castle will be coming in this show as well. Very excited about that. I love John Bernthal's portrayal as Frank Punisher. Frank Punisher. AKA the Castle. Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. I'm gonna keep that one in. But I love that portrayal. I can't wait to see how this plotline goes. I can't wait to see what's up with him. I'm very excited about the show, but after I saw these first 2 episodes, I was like, we're back, baby. We are so back. These episodes are great. I love them. They're not as perfect, you know. There are issues, but overall, I enjoyed it. So, let me know what you guys thought about episodes 1 and 2 of Daredevil Born Again in the comment section down below. And with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching. And I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if you're not already. Turn on notifications, and don't forget to check out the Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I'll see you guys in a little bit for my video, hopefully, of episodes 3 and 4 of Daredevil Born Again. Bye!